Chia.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the motion. The white paper on the COVID-19 response is a fair assessment of how Singapore performed in its fight against COVID-19 and candidly stated certain areas to be improved, which I'll elaborate upon in my speech today. First, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the healthcare workers, frontline essential workers, and all those who have worked tirelessly to keep our communities safe during these challenging times. Your dedication, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of our society have not gone unnoticed, and we extend our heartfelt appreciation to every one of you. As we reflect on the past few years, it is important to acknowledge the challenges we have faced as a nation. In particular, I'd like to address 3 areas where we could have done more to mitigate the effects of the pandemic. First, the need to build more resilient housing, especially for lower resource and vulnerable households. Challenges in our housing structures and capabilities, especially in the case of 1- and 2-room flats, became even more apparent during the implementation of the Home Recovery Program, HRP. The HRP was made the default mode for managing COVID-19 cases from the 15th of September 2021. Fully vaccinated individuals aged 12 to 50 with no or mild COVID-19 symptoms were advised to recover at home without needing to visit a hospital or a community care facility. The transition proved frustrating for many Singaporeans. Some were unable to get through to MOH hotline for instructions, while others who were not suited for home recovery faced delays in conveyance to recovery facilities. For our resource-low households, particularly those living in 1- and 2-room flats, these challenges were amplified and experienced more acutely because of their space constraints. During the Delta wave, our strategy pivoted from zero COVID to living with COVID. With the recharacterization of the virus as a disease mild enough to recuperate at home, the directive that followed was for infected individuals to self-isolate within the confines of their homes. However, for those living in 1- and 2-room flats, where there is only one bathroom and multiple dwellers share the same bedroom, self-isolation proved almost inconceivable, and this drastically increased the risk of other household members contracting the virus. Having multiple members of a resource-low household contract COVID-19 leads to greater financial insecurity as compared to middle and higher resource households. While their ability to work is compromised, resource-low families often do not have access to work-from-home alternatives and rely on a smaller pool of savings to tide them through periods of no work. As MP of Zhenghua, I have first-hand experience of the challenges faced by such families, especially those living in our public rental flats. I was in constant communication with residents and appealed to the Ministry of Health team, who did their best, given the situation, to assist them. The limitations of our present homes in protecting residents in face of the pandemic, especially in the case of 1- and 2-room flats, justifies a rethink of minimum housing standards. Taking into account the challenges faced by households living in 1- and 2-room flats due to constraints in living space, what must be done to fortify all housing types to ensure that they are resilient in future pandemics? Second, the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the need for businesses to work closely with governments to ensure that essential services are not disrupted. During the pandemic, many businesses in Singapore work with the government to manage migrant workers' inflows and at dormitories. These help to ensure that essential services continue to be delivered. Particularly, associations such as Dormitory Association of Singapore Limited, DASL, contributed significantly to managing the unprecedented situation in the dormitories. Were there useful lessons learned from these partnerships with the Dormitory Association of Singapore and Singapore Contractors Association? And has MOM put in place measures to better prepare for the next pandemic? It is crucial to work with trade associations on pandemic response and establish pandemic-related SOPs and communication channels. This way, TAs will be ready with a pandemic response, and there will be a clear line of communication with the government to ensure efficient cascading of information both ways. To tackle the possibility of such similar pandemics where the speed and scale of virus spreads becomes unprecedented, is the government looking to prepare preemptive policy coordination in the present state? Will this be included as one of the work streams of the dedicated Centre for Public Health and forward planning. Lastly, I received feedback from the business community that the job growth incentive rolled out during the pandemic to save jobs and spur hiring were unfortunately beset with instances of disbursements delays. In particular, the Jobs Growth Incentive JGI payout Phase 5 has caused some administrative pain for companies. Businesses share that IRAS conducts random checks to verify employment numbers. These checks involve specific documents like employment details of certain employees, hours worked, work schedules, pay slips, and such reviews take up to 6 months. In a particular case, since June 2022, no payouts for Phase 5 onwards have been made, although information for those phases have been asked for by IRAS and reviewed. This means that the review has taken close to 10 months. Upon further inquiry, IRAS was not able to provide on the status update and not clear whether the company was eligible for payouts or not. When asked about the delays, IRAS cited manpower shortages as the reason for the longer review rather than any cause for concerns with the company's documentation. Sir, businesses continue to be cash flow driven, and delays in payouts can make or break companies, especially in these cost-inflated times. Can the government work towards ensuring that disbursement process is better streamlined and efficient without compromising on the necessary checks and balances? This must certainly be challenging for civil servants involved too, so I do understand the operational constraints, so any solution has to include the organization being adequately resourced. It is important that these support measures are effective and accessible to businesses when they need it the most. Therefore, I look forward to the review and some proposed pathways to making this better for all. In conclusion, I've highlighted 3 important areas of focus on Singapore's response to COVID-19. We must first ensure that our homes are resilient to the face of future pandemics and that resource-low households are safeguarded. 2, work closely with trade associations to prepare for future pandemics. And lastly, expedite the disbursements of government support for businesses to save jobs and spur hiring. Thank you.